What's good, besties? Welcome back to What's the Tea with Tim, where we spill the tea on life, love, and everything in between. Now, today's episode, woo, we're getting real, y'all. We're talking about starting a family young. I know we hear a lot about waiting for the perfect time, but what if life has other plans? Whether you're curious, considering it, or just want to hear an inspiring story, today, we're diving deep into what it really looks like when you start a family in your 20s. And trust me, we've got a special guest who knows all about it. So grab your mug, let's get to sipping. Kiani James is a devoted wife, loving mom to a joyful toddler, and a dedicated educator passionate about inspiring young minds. She strives to keep Christ at the center of her life, allowing her faith to guide her relationships, career, and creative passions. Whether she's in the classroom or exploring new hobbies that spark joy, Kiani brings positivity, meaningful connections, and a love for learning into every aspect of her life. Today, she's joining us to share her journey of starting a family in her 20s, balancing motherhood, marriage, and personal growth while staying grounded in faith. Kiani, welcome to What's the Tea with Tim. How are you today and Happy New Year?
I'm so great. Happy New Year. Thank you so much for having me. So excited to
Of
be here finally, right? Because we've been like talking about this for like ever.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you on the show. You are just such a beacon of light in my life. We have known each
hmm
other since high school days.
Yeah.
The audience doesn't know, but I think I had switched high schools at one
hmm
point, and that's where I met you at
Yeah.
the college academy, was it called? It's been so long, I can't
Yeah.
remember.
The school that shall not be named.
Oh my God. And then the school shut down. Like, what?
hmm
I
Yeah.
cannot. So, how has life been treating you since we last had a chance to catch up? You're in Florida still, correct?
Yes, I am. I
Okay.
am. I'm here with my little family,
Mhm.
teaching, and just, because now I'm in a different part of Florida than where we grew up, right? So I'm just trying to find a new village, like, make new friends, build a new community.
Awesome, awesome. Well, all the best in just, building out your family. And I'm rooting for y'all. Tell James I said hey, or John I said hey, and give the babe my love too. So I'm excited for this episode and I can't wait to get into it. Are you ready? I got my
Yes, let's
mug.
do it. I got look at this.
Oh, that's a cute mug.
And
Ooh.
it's really
Okay.
good when you have tea in it because you can like just set it to simmer. So I love it.
I love it. What do you have in there? Do you have tea in there or is it just like a regular? Oh,
I
oh
don't put
okay.
it in it. It's just water, but
Okay. Oh my gosh. So, Kiani, let's dive right in. Tell us more about how did you know that you were ready to start a family, or how did you find out that, like, all right, I'm having a baby? What was that moment for you?
so it was very like pre-calculated. I did a lot of thinking. So we got married in August of 2020, and I it was almost like 2 weeks later, I immediately was like, oh, let me schedule an appointment with my gynecologist. I'm taking my IUD out. So no more birth control. We're doing this. We're having a baby. And yeah, it didn't happen immediately. It was
Mm,
a couple months in. But we both were, wanting to start a family. So it wasn't anything like, oh, we need to wait or anything. Like we were both on board with it. And then when it finally did happen, which I think was December of 2020, we found out we were both super excited, just like really happy, like surprised, but also like, oh my gosh, like it's really happening. Um, and just, yeah, it was just an exciting time because it's just like that was the next step for us.
I love it. And thank you for sharing. What was that like initial reaction once you found out, like, oh my gosh, I'm having a baby? Like, was it excitement? Were there any other emotions? Like, what was going on in your head once you actually found out, like, this is actually really happening?
Well, it was something that I wanted for so long. Um, but I don't know why. I've always been very sensitive to the um fact that not many women are capable of carrying a child, right? Like there are a lot of people who deal with infertility issues. So I was very concerned that I might be one of those people that I might actually be experiencing, that same thing. So I was just trying to stay super humble, like just praying and asking God, like, please let this work. And when we finally did, get pregnant, I was so grateful. I was mostly grateful. I was excited, of course, but I was mostly grateful because I was just like, man, I know this doesn't happen so easily for so many people on the first try. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I had a lot of gratitude about it because I knew that it wasn't something to take for granted. And I was just like, I was over the moon, honestly, just excited about what was to come, but also scared because I was like, what, what kind of baby am I going to have? What's this going to be like?
My gosh. And did you ever feel like, oh my gosh, like it's your first kid, so you've never been a mom before, and it's like, how do I be a mom?
I know. And that's
Hmm.
the thing, like, because you kind of have an idea of how you want to be. And let me tell you, the idea of the type of mom I thought I was going to be, she's a little bit still somewhere in there, but this ain't me. She ain't me, okay? There's so many things that you think you're going to do before you have a kid. Like you think, oh, we're not going to do this with the kid, and we're not going to have them do that, and da 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 da. And then you have the baby, and you're like, yeah, so about that, we need to probably
Hmm.
revisit those areas. Like reality kind of hits. So
Right.
it was, I don't know, it wasn't something I actually really thought about. Like I never really thought about, okay, when the baby finally gets here, what is this going to look like?
Hmm.
Interestingly enough, that wasn't something I was thinking about. I was just so focused on the moment. Let me just try to get through this pregnancy, because I was still working at the time. Up until I got to 6 months pregnant, I was still working. So,
Yeah.
um, your girl was just trying to do her best.
Hey, and that's all we can do is be our best, in whatever circumstances that life gives us. So I heard you say that you felt grateful, you had a lot of gratitude, over the moon, just thanking God that like you had this blessing come into your life. So, whew, what would you say are some of the biggest emotional and lifestyle adjustments that you had to make during that time of either you being pregnant or even after once the baby arrived?
Emotional adjustments, I would say, not like trying not to focus on the what ifs or what could go wrong or something like that.
Mm,
You know, so there's a lot of, if you're going to give birth, there's so many things that could happen, right? And I had an idea of how I want my birth to go. I wanted to
mhm,
give birth in a birthing center. I didn't want to have to go to a hospital. I was praying I wouldn't end up having to have a C-section. I heard about all these different statistics and all these things that could happen, and I was wanting it to be as natural as possible. I wanted to have a natural birth. And so emotionally, I had to really, kind of really tap into who I knew that God made me to be, right? Like,
amen.
this is this is your role. This is what you're going to do. This is what you're created to do. You can carry this child. You can give birth to this child naturally, and you don't, need to be worried about the what ifs. So, and I'll tell you, I had a few like health things going on at the time of me being pregnant as well, because I was dealing with,
Mm,
low iron, and people were looking at me crazy. They're like, how are you not passing out? And I'm like, oh, I feel better than ever. And they're like, okay, these numbers look ridiculous. So, they're towards the tail end. I remember us having to work really hard to even build up my iron, so that I would be able to still give birth in the birthing center. So, with that being said, like, I had to do a lot of like praying. I would write a lot of affirmations because I wanted to just reaffirm to myself, like, hey, this is going to work out. You're going to have the best midwife that you need to have for that day of. The baby's going to be healthy. You're going to be healthy. It's all going to be smooth. You're going to go home same day. It's going to be okay. And I had to keep doing that for myself mentally so that I could feel like, so that I could just remind myself, like, you are capable.
yeah. And I hear the baby in the background.
Yeah, that girl, she's probably getting served for
She's,
dinner, so she don't know how to act.
hey, she's living her best toddler life.
Yeah,
And, Keone, I just want to say this as well. Like, being a mom and just also just going through the process of giving birth, like, I don't, I'm a male, like, I won't have that experience. So it's like, there's going to be even things that, like, we talk about that, like,
right.
one, I just may not know or have that knowledge. So it's like I want to be able to provide that platform for mothers or future mothers who are planning to have families. So, one, just again, thank you for sharing your experience
Of
with
course.
giving birth and ultimately just building out a amazing family.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
thank you. I am curious to know, or let's say there's often this narrative that young parents are either irresponsible or ruining their future. It's a misconception. Is there any misconceptions that you have personally faced, and how did you rise above it?
Um, yeah, I had something that really sticks out to me that I remember is I had a therapist in
Mm,
2019 to 2020. And I think I stopped meeting with her just about the earlier or mid 2020. And I remember us having a conversation where she said to me, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And I said, I see
mm.
myself as a mom. And she said, okay, like what else? I see myself as a mom. And that's the only thing that I could tell her off rip was that I see myself as a mother and I see myself with kids. And she told me, okay, well, I've seen it before where, women get so wrapped up in this lifestyle of motherhood and then they lose themselves and they don't know who they are. And now they're trying to, find find their purpose again and a lot of stuff she was telling me. At the time, I took it as like, girl, stop trying to tell me that I need to find something else to do and not be a mom. That's how I was taking it because I was just
Yeah.
like, what are you saying here? I think that was the one thing that kind of threw me. And that was the only thing that ever made me feel like, oh, this is not something you should try to go into so fast. Did I allow
Mm,
her words to stop me from doing that? No, I did then go on to become pregnant that same year. Do I kind of understand where she was coming from now? Yes, I do. But I do still see myself. That was 28 now. So in like 4 or 5 years, I do still see myself as a mom, maybe an extra kid in there. Like,
okay.
I see that for myself. I feel like this is what I was meant to do. And I told her that I saw myself around kids. I know that people see it, people might look at you and think that you're young, but I think that you can't go just off of how you feel. I think sometimes God puts something inside of you, and once it's in you, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a matter of you bringing it to fruition.
Amen.
And I'll say this, when I was a kid, I had always known that I was going to be married and have children by the time I was 25. I knew that. I would say it
Hmm.
all the time when I was a kid. And that's exactly what ended up happening. I was married and had a child by 25. I knew that that's what I wanted for my life, and thankfully I was able to find someone that also wanted that as well. And we didn't have any naysayers in our family. Our families were very supportive. They, like, once they saw we were getting married, oh great, like they were super excited for us. Once we talked about us having a kid, no one ever said, oh, well, what are you going to do? No one asked us about like our work situations. I was working as like a part-time florist at the time.
I
And
remember.
John was doing like front desk receptionist at like a hospital. Like, it's not like we were like stable in our careers or anything like that, but our family still wasn't like, oh man, you got to figure this out. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were very supportive. And so we didn't have that within our circle. So I would say, thankfully, we didn't have that. Um, no naysayers around us to try to deter us from it or make us feel doubtful about what we were doing.
Awesome. I'm glad that you had that family support system and ultimately they were just showered you with love and of course support for the baby. So like, and it's important to just acknowledge that as well because, not everybody has that. So just for you to be able
Right.
to have that support system is a huge blessing as well. Just to piggyback off some of the things that you said, and I'm so glad, and Kiani, just even knowing you as a person for as long as we've had, like God has always been the center and the core of just you and who you are. So I feel like when you said, you saw yourself having those kids married and having kids by 25 and God allowed that to happen, like those are the conversations that you're having with God that you're praying for, and for him to even give that blessing to you is just so profound. And it
Right.
just goes back to what you said about like when God puts something in your heart, like it's coming from Him, and you really have to be the one to push that narrative forward, and push your dreams and goals forward.
Right.
Even with this podcast, like I feel like He gave me this vision. Like I'm just the one putting in the work and the action behind it. So
There you go. Yeah,
I'm
that's the work.
so proud. I'm so faith without works is dead. Hello, John
Period. Yeah.
2:26. um, but yes, I'm just so happy for just you and just seeing all of the things that you have prayed for come into fruition. So
Thank
yes,
you. Thank you
yes.
so much.
Do you feel like starting a family young has shaped your life in a positive way? If so, how?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's helped me to appreciate the little things.
Hmm.
I will say that. And also realizing that what I desire for my life might not be the same as what other people desire. So,
Hmm.
for example, right, a lot of people my age, when I was 25 and I had a newborn, a lot of people my age were traveling the world, and they're getting into their careers, they're traveling, they're doing their thing, and it could be easy. And actually at one point I was comparing my situation to others and thinking like,
Mm,
man, we didn't have that time to really travel the world, like John and I went a few places together. um but then imagine this, in the midst of me comparing, the Holy Spirit told me, you don't even like to travel. I
mm,
don't even like to travel like that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So it's like, why are you comparing your situation to what other people have going on? I think
hmm,
me having a child basically was, like I said, I had two things that I knew I wanted to do: get married, have a kid. Me having the child was the icing on the cake. And it was like, okay, God, you gave me everything I could ask for, that I
yeah,
had asked for, right? And so it allowed me to now recognize, like, take value in the smaller things, because truth be told, I enjoy a simple life. Where I
hmm,
live now is like considered the country. I love it though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I enjoy a simple life. I like my day to day. I like having a smooth rhythm with my family. Like, this is a good life to me. You know what I'm saying? Some people thrive on, new experiences daily, or, different, and that's totally fine. That's good for them. But it's recognizing, like, me having a child at the age that I did, allowed me to recognize that I had what I wanted, and what I have is good enough for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to look
mm,
at other people's situations and want what they have. I don't desire to, because I know that we all desire different things. Just because it looks good, we see a highlight reel on social media, doesn't mean that
right.
that's actually what is going to be best for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's just helped me enjoy the little things. Like, we'll have a simple day, we'll go to Costco, and we'll, hit up Sprouts. That's my favorite grocery store. And then we'll come home and
Yes,
I'm like, I
proud.
had a good day today. And I had a good day because I got to shop for food for my family for the week. And that just makes me happy, because now I get to go home and make a good dinner. I get to bake something, like, so yeah, just enjoying the little stuff. That's what I think it has
Hmm.
really, how it's really improved. It changed my perspective. I'll say that. How it's improved my life.
And I really love what you said about just like taking value in the smaller things, because being able to go to the grocery store with your family, some people cannot do that. Whether
Right.
that is having even the financial means of going to the grocery store or even
Right.
having a family. So it really is about recognizing what you value and building a life off of those values.
Hmm.
And I love that you said how you found yourself comparing yourself to other peers or people with, because and how the Holy Spirit spoke to you, like it just felt like comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
Like I
Yeah.
think about being 27 and I just feel like I should be further along, and I should be doing this by now. No, you are exactly where you are meant to be.
Right. And think
Like,
about it. Someone else who's 27 might be wishing that they had started a podcast. They have that vision on their mind, but they don't
mhm,
have the discipline, or they're not putting in the effort that it takes to bring it to fruition like you did. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
right.
we can desire all these things, but is it necessarily meant for you? Because if you don't have what it takes to get, to also put the work in, then it's not going to happen.
Exactly. And going back to just, counting your blessings and appreciating the smaller things, like you don't need just, again, using this podcast as an example, you don't need expensive equipment, or if you have this like dream in mind, like just start with what you have, like,
Hmm.
and then build off of there. So I'm glad that you were just, again, going back to family, building that life for yourself. And just ultimately, Kiani, you are living your dreams, and that is so
Yeah.
commendable. And I'm certain, looking back at your high school year old self, like you wouldn't have even imagined this is the life that you thought you would be living. So,
Yeah. I don't
wow.
know. High school me probably thought something totally different. I mean, something similar, but
Hmm.
maybe not of this magnitude. And
Yeah.
I will say, something you said that you're literally living the life of your dreams. And like, that's such a scary thing to realize sometimes, because
Hmm.
it's just like, wow, like God really gave it to me. And then it's like,
Yep.
how can he top this? But every there's always something more. There's always something more. And whether it's just the
Yep.
grace that is being given to me on a day by day basis, because I'm talking about this life that I have as it's so great. Yeah, but there be some days I'll be ready to tear my hair out because I got a 3-year-old toddler running around here acting a fool. But it's just whether it's the grace that's being given to me on a daily basis, or me learning how to have patience, or just like trying to sit in those moments with her and help her regulate, like learning those new things. All of it is important. All of it is important to it's all part of it. It's just all part of the journey, right? Like you can get to where you want to be, but also there's still going to be some challenges that come with it, and it's how you approach those challenges that's what's really going to determine like if God can even give you more.
Mm. That's deep, Kiani. Let me go ahead and write that
Stop,
down.
stop.
So we preaching today, basically. You just came on the podcast to preach. I got a
Yes, we
deaconess on
are. I
here.
guess we are just a little bit.
So
It
I
might be
want to go
something in
back.
his water.
Listen, I got a little juice in here. It's not alcoholic. It is definitely just juice. So
Okay.
yeah, I've actually been limiting my alcohol intake these days, because I just don't like the feeling of being drunk and hungover. Like that's just not my thing
Yeah.
anymore. That was old Tim.
It's growth. It's growth.
Yes, literally, literally. So going back to just the support system of it all and the family, when I grew up, my mom would always say like it takes a village to raise a child.
Hmm.
How did your support system, whether friends, family, or mentors, play a role in your journey as a young parent? What would you say?
Um, I will say my village is spread all over. And, I was just like I was telling you at the start of the show, we're in a different spot now. And so, we don't have people here that we necessarily know. Really the main outside people we know are like my coworkers from work.
Mm,
John works from home. So it's trying to build or like having the community here. But our village in terms of like our family, I would say at the start what was a village without it being a village that was totally nearby was basically like when Selah was pretty young, yeah, like in her first few months, my mom and my older sister, three of us would get on FaceTime, and we would do Bible studies in the mornings. And this was like on a daily basis. I think we were doing it. Well, I think we were doing it Monday through Friday. I can't remember if we would do it
mhm,
Saturdays, but I know it was definitely Monday through Friday, and we would do Bible study every day. And that had nothing to do with them looking after Selah, right? Because obviously Selah was with me, that we're doing this virtually, but that
mhm,
was them helping me tap into myself, pour into myself, and,
mm.
still keep my connection going with God. Because once you have a
Right.
child, you're like, well, how do I find the time to do all these different things? I mean, I don't know how we were doing it. It was just John and I, but literally the day we came home from the birthing center, right? Which was literally the day Selah was born. We went home the same day, and my mom was there for the birth. Thank God. My two sisters, and my brother were there, and they saw Selah for a bit, in our apartment, and then they had to leave. My
Mm,
mom had to go to the doctors the next day, so she had to make it back home, and it was just John and I, so we didn't have a village fully there with us. But then, like, his mom flew from South Carolina a few weeks later, and she spent a week with us. And so that was good, like we were able to get a little time together by ourselves. I think I went out the house a few times on my own. And so our village just looked a little different. We had close friends that we would go visit, further out in Orlando, we would go visit our friends. And that
right.
was always good because, again, you're communicating with people that are actually your age. You're not talking about baby stuff all the time. And then also, you
Hmm.
can give your baby to somebody else to hold. Shout out to Maria because she would always take Selah. And I just, like, obviously I love my kid, but I love knowing that somebody else loves her as well and would just hold her and like put her to sleep. And that was great. And it was cool because we felt like we could have late night out still with our friends, which we did. We're just hanging out in the house. And like Selah was safe. She could still sleep. We'd bring her bassinet and like it was fine. And that was the village, so
Yeah.
I think that a village is basically what you make of it. It doesn't have to be traditional. Everybody thinks about when you have a kid, you hope that you're going to have family coming in, bringing you cooked dinners and all that stuff. We didn't have that. I still had to get up and cook. um, like it's just, that was just what it was. But we still had our family constantly checking in on us. If we
Hmm.
needed anything, we knew that they were there, that they could help us. But ultimately, like, it just looked a little bit different for us, and that was fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's perfectly okay that, things look different. Like,
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing at all. And I think it's about just finding what works for you as
right.
parents, because at the end of the day, like, no one's telling you how to be a parent. You get to create your own version of what parenting looks like.
Yeah, ultimately.
What what advice would you give to someone who feels like maybe they are navigating young parenthood without enough support?
I would say that it's for a season. It's just for a
Mm,
season. Um, so while we spent most of our days day in, day out with Sailor Roo, right? Eventually she went to daycare. Last year she started going to daycare.
awesome.
And that was
Daycare.
5 days a week. Now, granted, we're both
Hmm.
working 5 days a week, right? But every so often I get an off day and Sailor can still go to daycare. And so, you know, there's a break in there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But also it's just a season, and you have to think of it as a season, even if the season takes 3 years, because there's going to come a day where they don't want to be with you anymore. They want to go hang out with their friends.
Mm, yeah.
There's going to come a day where they don't want to sleep in your bed. They don't want the food that you made. Like, there's going to come a day where they are resistant to mom and dad. And so to me, I try to always think of like, hey, I'm going to soak this up while it lasts. And it can be tough. It can be tough if you don't have people around, but I think like find find mommy groups or find parent groups, right? If you get plugged in with a church, they usually always have something for parents going on. They usually have meetups, and those meetups are helpful. Now, I've never been to them, but
Yeah.
I know of them, and they are helpful because a lot of times they allow you to bring the kids. Because we went to a church that had like young people's night outs, but they had nothing for the kids. And it's just like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this
Mm,
baby?
right.
So we would always struggle in that area with trying to go make friends with people at our church because we had nowhere to bring our child. But anyways,
Yes.
also, there are different apps that I know. I mean, I cannot even remember the name of the one app that I was on at one point, but there was an app that like moms could actually communicate with each other based on your area. So it's
Mm.
like a Tinder for moms. Um, and you're all just
Oh,
like messaging, and I remember I had a friend on there. We never had plans of meeting up or anything, but we would just talk to each other about, oh, this is what's going on, like this is what's happening in my life right now. Oh, I'm just washing dishes. You know what I'm saying? Little stuff like
yeah.
that. So um when you don't have a village, just try to make the best with what you do have. Try to find support around you. Like I said, plug into those groups. You kind of have to
Hmm.
step out. you have to step out and try to find it, because
Yeah.
if you don't, you will just be alone.
Yeah. So I heard you say it's important to find community, find whether community through moms or community within your networks, finding different groups for support, making the best of the situation, and finding either a schedule or finding those moments to just breathe. Did I get that correctly?
Yeah, I would definitely say that last
Hmm.
part is good too. Yeah, finding
Yeah.
that moment to breathe, finding what is going to help fill your cup. You know what I'm saying? For me, what that
Mm,
looked like without a village was I'm going to the gym. And I was on
okay.
my fitness kick for a hot minute. I don't know if you remember, but
The gym is gonna do it,
I was
okay?
in that gym, okay? So, and that was good. I mean, John and I had such a great balance. I was going like 5 o'clock in the morning, going to the gym, and then I would come back home, be able to get myself together before Sayla got ready, like before she would wake up. And that was like
Hmm.
perfect. And then he'd be able to go to the gym in the night. So it's like, it also really helps, even if you don't have a village, when you have a partner that is working with you, because that makes a world of a difference. Like
Mm,
I've seen people who have a child and one person feels like they're carrying the load. I definitely don't think it should be that way. I definitely think like it's a partnership. It takes two. It took two to make that baby. It takes two to do what we got to do to make sure that we're all okay. You know what I'm saying? Because if
facts.
mama's not okay, if dad's not okay, like if we're all not okay, the baby can't be okay.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. That is so real, Kiani. That is so real. I'm curious to know how have either your personal dreams and goals or things that you want to see for yourself, like where are they now? And how do you see that like transitioning into the future now that you are a mom and have a family and of course want to build future kids as well?
so um I don't know if many people know this, but my dream has always been for me to write a book. Um
Mm,
Let me just share this fun little tidbit.
hmm.
I had a book started on a flash drive. Sailor broke that flash drive.
Oh no, not broke the
and
flash
and
drive.
she broke it when she was about like 8 or 9 months. At the time I was so mad. And I
I can
thought like maybe I would
imagine.
try to rewrite it. And I was like, you know what? No. Just it is what it is. It is what it is. It's just gone. I'm over it. Um, I will say that I'm gonna go back to this conversation about seasons, right? Because there's a
Hmm.
season for everything. I think that the first 3 years were not meant for me to try to write. Like I had moments here and there where I would try to. I've been on a creative block for the past year,
Hmm.
and something happened over, I want to say it was just before Thanksgiving break. And this was in November. And I was on TikTok and I saw people coloring. It could be my ADHD, but I immediately went gung ho and I was like, okay, I'm buying these books, I'm buying these markers. I spent like $200 on markers and I got all the stuff. Okay.
$200 on markers is actually crazy, but I'm following you.
I know it's crazy, but it was an investment and
Yes.
I don't regret it. Let me tell you why.
Hmm.
I started coloring. I was watching the TikToks. I'm watching the people do all these different like cool things, and I start getting inspired. So I
Yeah.
start like drawing inspiration from different things, and I'm going ham on these coloring pages, okay? And it was like something clicked, like a light switch went off. All of a sudden, I have this creative bone in me again. I want to tell you this. I have not been creative in a like the last time I was creative was last December, not this
Mm,
previous December, but the December before, when I decorated my classroom door at school. And I did it like the Grinch was stealing the Christmas tree. I made a whole Christmas tree and I had the Grinch stealing
hmm.
it. And that was the last time I felt really creative. And the coloring just sparked something in me. All of a sudden, I just wanted to do more creative things. And now I start thinking like, okay, like I can do this stuff. I decided to read a book. I read a book in 2 days. I haven't read a book in a really, really long time.
Yeah.
And
that also got those creative juices flowing, you know? So now I feel like, okay, I've read this book, I can write again. I still haven't written. It's coming. But I said all that to say, like, it's seasons, right? You know,
Mhm.
like I had to spend the first 2, 3 years tending to my child, taking care of my child, because she
Right.
has needs that need to be taken care of. And I needed to focus on her. I'm still focusing on her, right? But now something has happened where I can be creative again. And it took, unfortunately, it took 2 years. Is it unfortunate? I don't know, because maybe the next thing that I produce is going to be the greatest thing I've ever produced. You know what I'm saying?
Listen.
Besides my child, because that's really the greatest thing I've ever produced. But this might be the second best, you know? So
Yes.
I just think like, yeah, it's you have to move in life with seasons. And I just saw something recently that said we have to stop trying to find a balance. I think it was Pastor Philip Mitchell that said it. He says we have to stop trying to find a balance and really try to go create a rhythm, you know, because
Mm.
some seasons you're going to extend more maybe to your work. Some seasons you can offer more at home. And it's not
Yeah.
about finding a perfect balance. There's never going to be a perfect balance. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But it's just what's the rhythm? What's the rhythm like? And so now I'm moving into this season where I feel like I might be able to build a rhythm of tapping into that creative side again. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So to go back, I do plan on writing that book. It's going to be written eventually.
You're going to
But
write that book.
yeah,
In our next conversation, you're going to be author
period.
Kiani James. Hello.
Yes, yes, I will.
And Kiani, I'm over here just getting a little bit emotional because I know the journey and I've seen it and witnessed it firsthand. So I
Yeah,
know that everything that you are talking about and everything that you will experience in this life like will come to pass.
yeah,
It's just a matter of, setting that time when the season is right
yeah,
and ultimately just creating because, like you said, your child is or your children will be the best thing that you created. But at some point, we are only on this earth for like a short amount of time. So
yeah,
you're going to want to create something that your children can remember you by. My
yeah,
mom was such a great mom, right? But boom, she also created this amazing book that other people can be inspired from. So,
yeah.
Kiani, I'm excited for you, honestly. And
Thank you.
this is
Thank you so
just the
much.
beginning of your continued journey. So,
Thank you.
yes. Oh, where am I? I need a tissue. Like,
Stop.
um, parenthood is often described as a journey of growth. What is one way becoming a parent has changed you as a person?
I think it has helped me have more grace and understanding. When I was a child, I did not have the best relationship with my mother. And, you
Mm,
know, my mother passed 2 years ago.
hmm.
Um,
I remember.
and not now as a parent, when I think about how old, okay, so when I think about how old I am, right? I'm 28. And I think about my mother being 28 years old. I think when my mother was 28, she had already had 4 children,
Mm,
I think. Um, she had me she had me at about 23,
hmm.
I want to say. And so, yeah, she would have either had 4 or already have had my last sister. So 5 of us, right? So I think about that, her being 28, me being 28. I only got one driving me
Yeah.
up, yeah.
Up the
and
wall sometimes.
and she had like 4 or 5. So when I
Yeah.
think about that, I think about how she was really just doing the best that she could, you know?
Mm,
I think that it gave me so much insight into what my mother was going through. Um
mm,
and also recognizing that she was really doing a lot of it by herself. You know, now granted,
yeah.
I grew up with my father most of my life, but still thinking about the fact that, you know, she was trying to provide on her own, like for her kids on her own, you know?
Hmm.
And sometimes it meant that she was going to be a little bit more frustrated when she got home from work, you know,
Yeah.
if the house wasn't clean. It's helped me to understand that. It's also
Yeah.
helped to give me more understanding when it comes to other parents. Giving people grace when I see like certain things that I don't necessarily understand or agree with, right?
Mm,
You just
yeah.
don't know what people are going through. You don't know what people are
Yeah.
going through.
It's
I
tough.
wonder what the teacher might think if every day she sees Selah coming to school with PB&J or chicken nuggets. Well, I'm sorry, girl, that's the only lunch she's gonna eat.
Hmm.
That is the only lunch she wants to eat.
That's real.
So that's what she's gonna eat. You know what I'm saying? And you know, thankfully they're not judgmental at her daycare or at school or anything like that. They know. But
Right.
it's things like that where it's just like becoming a parent makes you realize like people are really just trying their best. Like it's literally
Hmm.
their first time experiencing this. Like when you're a parent,
Hmm.
nobody gives you a guidebook. Like I said, I gave birth to Selah and we went home like 3 hours later. There's
Wow.
no book. No one says, "Oh, hey, this is what has to happen." You know, they just said,
Hmm.
"Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Come back tomorrow." That's it. Like that was literally it. So I'm less judgmental. Let's put it that way. I'm less judgmental. I give people grace a lot more, and I'm a lot more patient. You know, I try to take my time a little bit more because my daughter requires it. Um, and so I try to be understanding when it comes to other people's kids that I work with, right? Because I want
Hmm.
people to be understanding towards my child. It's a prayer I have for her every day that she goes to school, that people would be kind and patient towards her, and try to understand her because sometimes she can be misunderstood. And I imagine that there's another parent out there that hopes that people would treat their child with kindness. And that child that's coming into my classroom, I want to extend that same kindness that I want somebody to give my kid, you know? So it gives me grace to parents, and it also helps me, you know, just be kinder to people in general because
Yeah.
it's not an easy road to be on. Being a parent, it's not easy.
So I heard you say that you are less judgmental, you are much more patient, understanding, aware of just giving kindness and giving grace. It is really a tough world out here for sure. And I just even hearing from you, like there are things that I could be giving grace towards my mom and my parents because they were trying their best. At the end of the day, we're all
Yeah.
human and we're just here living on this earth and trying to make the best of what we have. So thank
Yeah,
you for sharing.
of course.
If you could go back and give yourself some advice at the start of your parenting journey, now that you are 3 years in, what would you say?
I would tell myself to just enjoy those little moments where she wants to be held.
Hmm.
Um, just lay with her. Just lay with her. Just hold her. Just take her for another walk, you know, because the newborn stage to me was hard. But, you know, John and I talk about it often. That was probably the easiest time we're ever going to have. You know,
Yeah.
because literally all the baby wants is to be held and to be fed, to be burped, to be changed. That's it. That's all the baby wants from you. They just want love, you know, and I think that I was overwhelmed at the time with how much love I needed to give. Um, I'm not a physical touch person. I never
I'm the
have
same way.
been. I didn't grow
Like,
up
do
that
not
way.
touch me. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't grow up that way. You know, I didn't. I was loved. I know I was loved, but my parents just loved me other ways. I didn't. My dad didn't give me hugs every single day.
Yeah.
So, you know, John expressed to me that this was going to be an issue once I had a kid. He's like, what if our kid wants you to hug them all the time? And that's how Selah is. She wants love and affection. And so I think if I would have thought about that, if I could go back and tell myself, you know, when I first had her, just to really embrace those moments more, that those simple times where all she wanted was to be held, because
Hmm.
you won't get that back. You know what I'm saying? I mean, today I had the pleasure of just laying there and she came to lay on me to fall asleep to take her nap. And like, that
Oh,
was great. But like, I know that there's gonna come a day that that's not gonna happen. She's gonna be like, get away.
Hmm.
So I'm always thinking about how I can embrace these little simple moments, and I think that's just something that I would tell myself. And just not trying to stop trying to rush into this phase of like taking care of you, like you are taken care of.
Yeah.
I was taken care of, so I didn't need to do anything extra to make myself feel like, oh, I'm a thriving mom. I think there was just so much pressure through social media, making you feel like, oh, you have to be doing X, Y, and Z to feel like you're really doing everything as a mom. Like you're not just taking care of the baby, you're taking care of yourself too. But I would focus less on that and just focus on give that baby some love.
Yes, give the baby the love. Give the baby the love. So, are you going to be one of those parents, going back to just giving grace? Are you going to be one of those parents? Because my mom was like this.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if your parents were like this, but like, I would do the dishes,
Hmm.
or I would do the dishes, right? And, at the end of the dishes, I wanted to give myself a nice treat. So I would treat myself to like a bowl of ice cream. But with a bowl of ice cream, you have to create another dish. So
Right.
my mom would go back in the kitchen and be like, what are all these dishes doing in here? But it's literally just a bowl and a spoon. Like, are you going to be one of those parents? Or it's just like, okay, it's a bowl and spoon in there, and, we'll get to it. We'll get to
I don't think that I will be
it.
because
Okay.
I feel like I'm already setting the tone for that right now with me and Selah. Um, we have this thing where we'll share a bowl of cereal, and sometimes that happens after all of the dishes are washed up. Sometimes I don't wash that bowl that we just ate out of, and it just is what it is. It's okay. I used to be super like crazy about having dishes washed before bed. I mean, we'll have our dishes washed, but if there's like one or two things in there, I'm not tripping about it. It's okay. Um but yeah, like I'm definitely that she's going to get me because I'm really one of those parents that I can tell where I'm just like, you only live once. Like what does it matter? Because I'm literally like, oh, give her another cookie. It's fine. Like so, yeah, I just let's enjoy life. Like, why are we not enjoying it? If that's
Yes,
gonna make you
yes.
happy, let's have another cookie. Let's eat a bowl of ice cream. It's fine.
And just enjoy life. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So, before we get into our game
Hmm.
section or game segment for today, any last words towards parents or those that are considering starting a family? What would you say, or what just comes to your mind?
I really just say like make this journey your own and don't
Hmm.
compare it to others. Obviously like because you're starting a new journey, you don't know what to expect. So yeah, pull some information from people around you, but don't feel pressure to fit like the standards of what other people have set, right? Like, you hear
Mm,
all these terms, crunchy mom, vanilla mom, all these different little things, and gentle parenting, and da 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 da. And like, hey, all that sounds great on paper, okay? But when you get into the thick of it, all right, you got to know yourself. So, figure out what is going to work best for you and your partner in creating um, what parenting is going to look like for y'all, and not be pressured by other people's ideas. And also never say never, because that one time you say we're never doing that, you gonna end up doing that. Me, we're never giving her McDonald's.
that is so true. I remember like my mom would be like, "You'll never get that," and then like I gotten the things that you said I'd never get.
Yeah.
So,
Listen, never say never, okay?
wow.
Life
Well,
humbles you
we
fast.
life will humble you really fast. Oh my gosh. Well, Kiani, we appreciate your story, your journey of motherhood, and just your advice that you have given to future parents or even parents now. Now we're going to switch things up with a fun game segment called Spill the Tea, Parenthood
Okay.
Edition. All right,
I'm
besties, we're here
nervous.
to switch things up. Don't be nervous, Kiani. No.
Okay, okay, okay.
So we're going to switch things up with a fun segment called Spill the Tea. I've got a series of rapid fire questions, Parenthood Edition.
Okay.
Some are serious, some are silly, but you got to keep it 100, of course. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, first question. What is the funniest parenting fail you've had so far?
Funniest parenting fail. Okay, I don't know if this is a parenting fail, but I woke up in the middle of the night and Selah had like pulled her diaper off, so she was just like butt naked in the bed,
Oh my
and
God.
it was just like, girl, where is your like? I was like smelling like pee, and then I was like, is it in my bed? Like what? And then I like turned my flashlight on, and I'm like, oh, booty, okay.
I mean, at least it was pee and not poop, because that would have been terrible.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What is your go-to parent hack for a busy day?
Go to parent hack for busy day. No diaper bag or anything. I just would take like two diapers and wipes and put it in like my own bag. I don't know if this is a
Mm.
hack. Listen, I don't really got no hacks, but pack some snacks. As long as she got food, pack some snacks and some water. Diaper wipes, we're good to go.
So we're going with packing snacks. Just make sure
Yeah.
the baby got something
Make
to
sure she
eat.
got
I
something
love
to eat.
it. Describe parenthood in 3 words.
Crazy, unpredictable, fun.
I love it. I love it. And we'll add in one more word in there. Rewarding.
Rewarding, yeah, it is.
What is a TV or movie parent that you relate to the most, and why?
I actually said this the other day at work. Home Alone, the mom, because she left Kevin out. I just feel like that would be me, like just
Yes.
packing everything into the car, and then it's just like, see ya, and the baby's still at home. But also my biggest fear, like, thank God my car has like the rear back seat like alert, so it lets you know your kid is still back there, so you don't leave, just don't leave your kids in the
That's a
car.
good feature. That's a good
Yes, it
feature.
is.
Wow. I need that when I have kids.
Yeah.
If your child wrote a book or review about you, what would they say?
Best mom ever, 10 out of 10. Like, yeah, can do no wrong.
Okay. All
Can do no
right.
wrong.
Love
Like,
it.
I know we get
Love
on
it.
each other's nerves, but that's my bestie.
Yes. Come on for the besties. I love it. Mommy and daughter. Well, Kiani, that was so much fun. Thank you for
I
being
had a
such a
great
light.
time.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for being such a light in today's episode. You've really given us so much wisdom and inspiration. And I would love for the people to keep up with your journey if you're open to sharing your social media. But if you're not on social media, that's perfectly fine too. So,
Yeah, I just deleted my Instagram, but when it comes back and when I get this book together, everybody will know.
okay. Well, hey, we can't wait to share on our social platforms when you do write the book. And we will be definitely supporting you all the way. So I can't wait to have my signed and special copy ready for me and
Yes,
sent
of
my way.
course. Of course. I love you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for thinking of me and just even
Of
wanting to
course.
reach out to me about this.
Yes, and thank you for just joining on the show.
Of course.
Awesome. Thanks, Kiani.
Thank you.
Wow, besties. Wasn't that conversation just everything? This is the last drop. I love when we get to hear stories like Kiani's that are real, raw, and so empowering. If you're out there and wondering if you can balance your personal dreams or starting a family, let this be a reminder that you are stronger than you think. Remember, no one's journey is perfect, but that doesn't mean it's not beautiful. As always, find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe to our channel and let me know what resonated most for you in today's episode. Until next time, stay shining, keep sipping, and take care, besties. Love y'all.